This phone is a flagship, yet not the highest tier. It's a camera phone, yet it won't wow you with a set of zoom lenses. And its chipset is super fast, yet it's not Qualcomm's. I'm Will for GSM Arena, and this is the Xiaomi 13T Pro. Let's check it out. The Xiaomi 13T Pro is a bit less expensive than Xiaomi's top flagships, but it still brings a full suite of premium features. With both the Xiaomi 13T and 13T Pro, a major focus is the cameras, which have been developed in partnership with Leica. But compared to the other model, the Pro brings a top-tier chipset, 120-watt charging, 8K video capture, and Wi-Fi 7 connectivity. When it comes to looks, what grabs the eye is the huge square camera bump with Leica branding. You have the choice of either a glass or eco leather back, and our Pro model is in the blue leather. The back curves slightly into a plastic frame, which has a brushed finish that imitates metal. The phone feels grippy and sturdy as well. One nice inclusion is that the Xiaomi 13T and 13T Pro have IP68 rated dust and water resistance, a first for the T series. The display of the phone is quite premium. It's a 6.67-inch OLED with a 1220p resolution, Gorilla Glass 5 protection, and a 144Hz refresh rate. At 446 ppi, this panel is quite sharp. There are plenty of options when it comes to the colors, and they can be very accurate. And you also get goodies like 12-bit color depth and support for HDR10+ video and Dolby Vision. The brightness is also great. The Xiaomi 13T Pro achieved a maximum of nearly 500 nits when controlled with the manual slider, and this was able to boost up to 1100 nits in auto mode. Let's talk about the phone's high refresh rate. 144Hz is meant to provide even more smoothness on top of a 120Hz panel, but we only saw this display go into 144 within certain apps or games. On the home screen, it would stick to 120, and when idling, we saw it drop down to 60Hz to save energy. The Xiaomi 13T Pro has a pair of stereo speakers with Dolby Atmos support. They have good loudness, and the sound quality is also good, with nice vocals and some bass. You can hear for yourself by checking out the provided link. You can wake up and unlock the Xiaomi 13T Pro using the under-display fingerprint scanner. It's quite fast and reliable. And the phone can come with 256 or 512 gigs or a whole terabyte of storage. That's not expandable through microSD. The interface of the Xiaomi 13T Pro is the global version of MIUI 14 on top of Android 13. In almost every way, it's the same as what we've seen on recent Xiaomi phones. But it's worth mentioning that Xiaomi promises 4 years of major Android updates and 5 years of security patches for the 13T series. If you'd like a more in-depth overview of MIUI 14, you can check out our dedicated video. The Xiaomi 13T Pro might bring a MediaTek chipset, but it's not a setup meant for a mid-ranger. This is the best MediaTek chipset on the market, the Dimensity 9200 Plus, and it's full-on flagship silicon. It supports advanced memory tech like UFS 4.0 and LPDDR5X RAM. And it offers raw performance that's a close match to the Snapdragon 8 Gen 2 you'd find in other Android flagships. And if you were thinking to compare the Xiaomi 13T Pro to the regular Xiaomi 13T, the Pro is able to provide about double the scores in graphics tests. The phone's performance is quite stable too. During our prolonged stress tests, the 13T Pro displayed little thermal throttling, and the phone never got hot. Powering the phone is a 5000 mAh battery, and the battery life here is good, with an endurance rating of 102 hours in our proprietary tests. It's not outstanding, but it's still an improvement over last year's model. Charging speed, on the other hand, is exceptional, thanks to the bundled 120-watt gallium nitride charger. With it, we were able to top up the Xiaomi 13T Pro from 0 to 68% in 15 minutes. A full charge took 26 minutes. Now let's talk about the cameras. There's a 50-megapixel main cam, a 50-megapixel 2x telephoto cam, and a 12-megapixel ultrawide camera. The cameras use Leica color science, and you'll be shooting using the Leica Vibrant color mode by default. But you can also shoot in Leica Authentic for more toned-down colors and more contrasty output. The default photos from the main cam come out at 12.5 megapixels. They have plenty of detail, with balanced processing and natural-looking foliage. The sharpness is just right, and there's no visible noise. There's plenty of contrast, and the dynamic range is well balanced. And the colors are punchier than real life, though they're not over the top. Switching to the Leica Authentic mode will get you a darker exposure, deeper shadows, and more realistic colors. The pictures look less processed and more natural. Foliage is even better here. In low light, the main cam's default photos are excellent. They're rich in detail with no noise, great color saturation, and wide dynamic range. The highlights in particular are handled quite well. There is automatic night mode processing available for nighttime scenes, though it rarely kicks in when shooting with the main camera. I think it triggered once during our entire shoot. Like I briefly mentioned, one benefit of the Xiaomi 13T Pro over the regular 13T is the ability to shoot 8K video. The quality is nothing special though. The foliage and other high-frequency details have an artificial look. At least the noise is low, the colors are accurate, and the dynamic range is wide. The 4K videos from the main cam are excellent. The foliage here looks well developed, and there's plenty of detail overall. You get low noise and realistic colors and exposure, and there's plenty of contrast yet wide dynamic range. There's always-on stabilization across the board, and it does a great job in smoothing things out. The main cam's video quality is also very good in low light. The footage is rich in detail, with low noise and lively colors. The contrast is great, and the dynamic range is wide enough. Now we have the 2x telephoto cam. Its 12.5 megapixel photos are solid, with enough detail, and the rendition in Leica Vibrant matches that of the main cam. You get saturated colors, high contrast, and good dynamic range. Portrait photos are taken with the telephoto cam by default, and they're very nice. The subject is detailed and well exposed, with natural rendition and good separation from the background. In low light, the zoomed photos are just as great as the main cams when it comes to colors, dynamic range, noise reduction, and the overall processing. The detail level is a bit less though. Again, the auto night mode didn't really engage for this camera. The telephoto cam can capture good 4K videos, with enough detail, realistic colors, and wide dynamic range. The ultrawide camera saves 12 megapixel photos, and they have low noise, likable colors, and good dynamic range. The detail level is average, but enough for this sort of camera. When shooting with the ultrawide in dark conditions, the phone's auto night mode always engaged. The results are good, with a bright exposure, wide dynamic range, saturated colors, and enough detail. The 4K videos from the ultrawide camera are very good as well, noise-free, with enough detail, great color presentation, good contrast, and wide dynamic range. Finally, we have selfies from the 20 megapixel front-facing camera. The photos come out at 20 megapixels, and the performance here is poor compared to the other cameras. The selfies are soft and low in detail. At least the exposure is good and the colors are lively. So there you have it, the Xiaomi 13T Pro. It brings some nice upgrades over the previous model, like the IP68 rated build, Leica cameras, and better battery life. And then the list of premium features keeps going, with the top-tier chipset, premium OLED display, Dolby Atmos speakers, and super fast charging. And Xiaomi even undercuts the typical flagship price, bringing even more bang for your buck. The only true shortcoming here is the lackluster selfie cam, but if you don't mind that, the Xiaomi 13T Pro is a flagship well worth recommending. Thanks for watching guys. If you're looking for alternatives to the Xiaomi 13T Pro on our channel, one option could be the Motorola Edge 40 Pro. Or you could check out the OnePlus 11. Let us know what you think, and I'll see you on the next one.